Hey guys, and welcome to Simmyssecrets. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about mental health. And we have a special guest with us today called Jazz. And I'll introduce him shortly. But first, I want to talk a little bit about what we're going to discuss in today's video. So we're going to be talking about really struggling with mental health, how to overcome it. We're going to talk a little bit about suicide and actually raising awareness of how to get out of being in that mindset and actually feeling as if you're lost. Jazz is going to explain a little bit about his story as well. And we're also going to talk a bit about addiction. So guys, if I look here, I'm looking at my notes because this is my first ever UK collab. So Jazz, do you want to introduce yourself to the audience?
Hi Simmy, thank you so much for having me on your channel. Really excited. And yeah, nice to meet everyone. My name's Jazz. I'm a uni student studying psychology. And I'm just going into my final year as a student counsellor. And when I leave uni, I want to help people with mental health difficulties and substance abuse issues.
So Jazz, that is an amazing story. And Jazz's story really inspires me because he's literally gone from being at rock bottom to improving his life. So in today's video, I'm going to talk a bit about what Jazz has been through. I'm going to do a question and answer with him so we can really go back to the start of his journey and talk about how he literally has uplifted himself, empowered himself, the fact that he's actually still a young student and, you know, he's literally gone from broken to empowered, which is stuff that I love talking about in my videos. So Jazz, the first question I'm going to ask you today is, when did you actually realize that you hit rock bottom?
Oh, it's happened so many times. The recent time, I would say, was about 2019, December time. And I was just down in loads of painkillers, mixing them. And I just didn't know what was wrong with me. I'd call up my mates and I just wouldn't even say anything. And they would just say, you know, what's wrong? And I just didn't even know what to say because I didn't know. And there was so much going on for me, trauma, the negative thoughts, just getting into bad relationships, bad friendships.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I was just so stuck on where I wanted to move into life.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this sort of destination addiction of when this certain date will come, like I'll just be happy suddenly. So I definitely wasn't living in the present. And in terms of hitting rock bottom, I was really suicidal. And even my brother, he got married around this time last year. And even though he got married, I was basically suicidal around that time. And his wedding actually brought me a bit more time. So that's when I would say I hit rock bottom.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that story, Jazz, because first of all, to even open up like that, it's such a powerful message and it shows your strength. So if you don't mind, I'm going to talk a little bit more about it. So with regards to kind of substance abuse, feeling suicidal, I know that you spoke a little bit about, you know, your brother's wedding and how you felt during that time, but what was actually going on for you? What were the thoughts going on in your head? Kind of like, how did you feel in that moment? Because I know when I felt like this, I felt very lost. I felt like I was actually going through a breakup at this time. I felt like my life was over and I just didn't know how to carry on into the next day. And I've also done a full video on, you know, how I tackle dealing with suicidal thoughts. So just to give our viewers a bit more background into it, like what was happening, because I know you spoke about, you know, taking painkillers.
Yeah, so in relation to what was going on, in relation to the painkillers, I had a car crash in about 2018 and I didn't really get diagnosed with anything. They would just refer me to have physio and they would just have, you know, paracetamol, like the basic stuff. And then I got diagnosed with sciatica in 2018/2019, yeah. And then that's when they basically said, like, here's some painkillers, like, start taking them. And I was like, cool. But because I was depressed at that time, physically it was helping me. And then I noticed it was numbing me. So actually I was really loving it because it was numbing me physically and mentally. So I was like a robot basically. I didn't really have a soul or anything. I was just taking them, getting up for the next day. And
It was kind of keeping you going, right? Like to get into the next day, kind of. It's kind of like when people use alcohol, right? Because you use it as a short-term thing to numb you,
Yeah.
but then the next day you're going to crash, and then you're going to need more alcohol, and then slowly you're going to become kind of, you know, susceptible to it. You're going to be so used to having the alcohol that you're going to have to take more and more and more. Did you feel like that was kind of happening with you?
With alcohol, that's like a huge thing in the Indian community. And for me, I was never into alcohol, but when it came to painkillers, I was just taking them, you know, twice a day, and then suddenly I was just mixing them
Mm.
and taking them. I was basically exceeding the daily
Mm-hmm.
dosage like frequently. So technically, I've overdosed a few times, but in terms of exceeding the daily dose, I've done it so many times.
Mm-hmm.
And what I noticed how quickly it is to get wrapped into it, because I was only taking them from about 6 to 7 months before I actually attempted suicide, which we'll talk about in a bit. So
Yeah.
it's crazy how quickly it can escalate,
Yeah.
especially if you're vulnerable. So that was something that really shocked me. You know, there's some people who are on it for 5 to 10 years, but for me, I was on it for 6 months, and already I was just escalating.
Yeah, and because you're so young, right? You're like 21 right at the moment, and you're a university student.
Yeah.
Yeah, so can we talk a little bit about mental health at university? So do you feel like you had much support, even within your friendship circle? And, you know, both of us are Indian, right? So within our culture, within our like friends or family, even if they're like Indian family members and stuff, it's really difficult to talk about mental health. It's really difficult to
Yeah.
open up and be like, you know what? I feel like I don't want to live. I feel suicidal. I feel like I've got this addiction, because you don't really talk about it and people don't really take it that seriously. So do you feel like being Indian, it's been more difficult for you as well at that moment
Yes.
in time? Because obviously now we've realised, you know, we've all came together as one voice. But at that moment when you felt like alone, did you feel like, you know, you don't have anyone to turn to?
Yeah, one thing I noticed, when someone had a physical condition,
Mm,
everyone would find out about it straight away. And
mm,
for me, when I was suicidal or depressed, like no one would know. And it's not even that I want sympathy, it's just the acknowledgement and someone
yeah.
just to sit down and even listen to you. And
Mm,
it's really difficult in the Indian culture because they don't really understand what it is themselves. So, yeah, so in the Punjabi and Hindi language, there's no word, I think, for depression or even mental health.
mm,
And it's sad to say, but it seemed like my mental health was taken more seriously after my suicide attempt. So
mhm.
it was just like, did I have to attempt that just to get some form of acceptance from my
Yeah.
own culture?
You've came so far since I met you, from, you know, when you first was feeling suicidal. Was it last year, February, I think, just before the pandemic started, that you reached out to me. And I got your email, and I was just like, you know what? Something inside of me said, I need to help this guy. Like, because you know what? I feel like people don't take mental health seriously. And even when I started up my YouTube channel and stuff, when I spoke about mental health, a lot of people would look at me and think, oh, she probably doesn't suffer from anything. You know, her life
Yeah.
is fine. But you almost put on a mask to the world, and you almost put on a facade. You have to act like everything's okay, when deep down you feel like empty, or you're struggling, or depressed, or you feel anxious, right? Um, can I go a little bit back further with you if you're comfortable?
Yeah.
What caused you to start all of this in the first place? Did something happen in your childhood, if you're comfortable talking with that? Did any trauma happen? Like, what triggered you to feel as if this is like the last option and the last resort for you?
Yeah, you know, just lack of communication and things
Mm,
that have happened in my life I just never spoke about because it was just like swept under the rug. And not even just family things that have happened, just me personally, the
mhm.
things I wanted to do. There's that cultural expectation of, you know, you got to be a doctor or an accountant. And even me, like, I'm doing a psychology degree, and I've had comments saying, you know, you won't get much money and stuff like that. So a lot of it was culture, and I've always felt like an outsider. I've
Yeah,
never been into like the drinking culture. I've never been into like the gossip culture, which all the like aunties love doing. So
yeah,
like I felt like an outsider because things I liked was perceived as like weird in a sense. And
yeah. And just to shed a bit more background on that to our viewers, because obviously the majority of them aren't going to be Punjabi or Indian.
Yeah.
So within our culture, so the Punjabi culture is very based on, you know, drinking heavily, going out, partying, gossip, judgment. But moving on, Jazz. So what was a point where you realised, you know, okay, I'm ready to get out of this. I've had enough of feeling like this and I need to get some help now. What was that? What did that moment look like for you?
Yeah, so after I came out of hospital from my overdose, it was a bit crazy because university was moved online, the pandemic, lockdown happened, that got announced.
This was just last year, which is why your story is even more amazing, because it's so recent for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like I was just saying it to one of my friends. I was like, because I'm nearly going to be like a year clean next month, and it's just like, was that really a year ago? But yeah, I really just sat by myself. I didn't use any distractions. I was like, what is my body telling me? Okay, start exercising, start meditating, start hanging out with negative people, cut out the exes in your life. So I really just started listening to my body. It's something that's so underrated. We always want to buy new clothes and, you know, for me, like using the painkillers, but, you know, deep within, if you really listen to your body, I think that's why meditation is so important. It's not you'll just be enlightened suddenly. It brings out what is actually hurting you and you can deal with it in that present moment.
Yeah.
So that was something I consistently kept doing and just following my passions. But one thing for me, I wanted to speak up about this, and when the time was ready, that's why I started talking about it. Just to friends and family, just being open about it, because if I were to have a physical illness, I would talk about it. So having a mental illness, I'd feel would be highly important. You know, we use it every day.
Yeah, and I think that's so powerful that you've said, you know what, you were literally broken. You just had came out of hospital, but you worked on yourself. You realised that you don't want to live that life anymore and you need to kind of get out of it, right? And a lot of people in that moment will play the victim role where they're like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening to me. But you have to shift it into being a survivor. Now, a survivor is someone who realizes their circumstances aren't amazing and, you know, they're broken, but they do something to get out of it. So this is what I'm going to move on to next. So, you know, you worked on yourself, you started meditating, you focused on self-development, you got rid of those toxic people. And this is what I talk about all the time with people. Like, that is what is so powerful, because the more you focus on yourself, the more you actually focus on, you know, getting to know you, having positive energy into your life. That's when you start realizing you become different. Yeah. So let's talk about when you reached out to me, because oh my God, like looking back at it now, I didn't think we'd ever get to this point where me and you are doing a collaboration. So that's in itself deserves a thumbs up from my audience. So guys, hit a thumbs up. And if you resonate with Jazz's story so far, comment below and literally give him some love and give him some support. So Jazz, you literally emailed me, bless your heart. I remember reading this email and it was like a paragraph long, right? And at the time, I literally I didn't even know like what to say or how to react, because I read your story about, you know, what had happened in your family, kind of how you felt, how you was really going through like substance abuse, but how you wanted to kind of get out of it, right? And you were saying your goal is to have a session with me, but you didn't have the money at the time, so you wanted to like work your way up towards getting the money, if that makes sense, to have a session with me. And I was like, you know what, I need to give this guy a free session. I need to help him out. So I emailed you back and I was like, you know what, I love helping people, and I think that's what's important. Like a lot of people focus on, you know, no, I have to get money, I have to do this. But for me, I started YouTube up because I enjoy helping people. So when you came up to me and you was like, look, Simmy, this is my situation, this is my circumstance, I just focus on helping you. So how did you have the strength to even, you know, message me or open up to me? Because at that time I was like someone who you didn't really know, right?
I was like, I'm not even happy, so I want to go like bigger again. And then I just typed in some like law of attraction videos or something, and you came up. And I think yeah, just your vibe and stuff. And I think with other YouTubers, they just like confuse me. They're just like, "I'll do this, do that." Like you just done it simplistic, but I could just tell you were genuine. Like I feel like there's the ones that are just like too produced in a sense, and it just didn't like resonate with me. That's the word you always use, so I'm gonna use it.
Oh, you're so cute.
And yeah, so and then I used to ask for help. I was thought being a man, I can do it myself. I don't need any help and stuff.
Mhm.
And out of strength and really desperation, I just asked for the help because I
Mhm.
needed it. And if I'm being honest, like my life was on the line, so that's why I reached out and just thank you so much. And I think that's what it's about. Just not even the money. So like, even if you just gave one free session, like, okay, yeah, you might lose on a bit of that money, but that person could go like, honestly, if you didn't do that, I wouldn't even be here, if I'm being honest, because that
Oh,
was my
you're
last like thing. So thank you so much.
Oh no, that's no problem. I think that's the main thing. It's about helping people, and they talk a lot about that within our religion, right? Within Sikhi, they talk about selfless service and doing seva.
Mm,
Seva is basically helping people when they need it, and it's not because of you're gonna get anything
yeah,
out of it. I just genuinely felt like this guy needs help. You were young, you're a student, like, and I can resonate with that because I was a student and if I needed help at that time, but I didn't have anyone to turn to. Do you get what I'm saying?
yeah.
So with regards to the coaching, what is it that helped you within the session? What is one thing you can take away from our session that really helped you, that can help other people who haven't had a session with me, may not feel comfortable talking about it, but you can literally give them that advice right now in the video?
So with me, I'm a bit greedy in the sense of when someone's giving information, I want that practical aspect to it. Like if I go off the video, what can I actually do? So the big thing was me, the practical side to it.
Mm.
And you recommended crystals to me. So that was something I looked into. Because even like crystals, that was something I was just like, well, it's just a rock. But it's crazy the effects it can have. But yeah, I'll definitely say just the practical aspects. And you really push me as a person. You're not just like, oh, just try this, see how you feel. Like, no, just do this because it's gonna work.
Mm. Yeah, no, definitely. I think crystals are really good. And obviously, guys, that's in my shop. You can find them from anywhere. Crystals are good for healing, especially amethyst. And it
Mhm.
depends on what you want. Amethyst is good for mood swings, positivity. But Jazz, what is some advice that you can give someone who feels like, they're at their lowest right now? Like, what is something that you can tell them now that you feel worked for you that will work for them?
Yeah, you really have to tell someone close to you that what you're really going through, because it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't until I was probably 19 or even 20 that I actually told people, that I am low. I didn't even say depressed though. Like you have to be really transparent about what you're actually going through.
Yeah.
And I another thing for me, like people have such a big influence. And since last year, there's so many people who've just gone out of my life and who have been included in my life. And that even includes family.
Mm-hmm.
In the Indian culture, like you said before, Simi, there is judgment and comparison and status.
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't want to get involved in that anymore. And it's not really out of disrespect or anything, but if someone can't accept you for who you are, then you really have to let them go. And even if it's a relationship, you might have a really sad weekend this weekend. I'm not telling you to break up with your partners, but I think we are in a relationship just for the sake of being in a relationship. We need to know our boundaries too. What do we really want? So, writing down that as well. What do you want from life?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, definitely. I think that really resonates with me as well. Writing down how you feel to sum it up. You've suggested using crystals. You've suggested that people who feel, they're at rock bottom, meditation, which you've suggested, journaling is a really good way to connect with yourself.
Yeah,
Finding help and support, whether that's counseling, whether that's a life coach, whether that's someone you trust just as a friend, making sure that that person is actually going to understand you and appreciate what you've told them as well. Because there's a lot of people you can turn to and you can tell them, you know what, I feel depressed, I feel anxious, or I feel even suicidal. And what is sad is they won't actually care, or they won't take it seriously. And I've experienced this as well. So it's about finding the right person to talk to. And there's a lot of charities out there that can help as well with this stuff as well, right? So Jazz, let's sum up the video and let's give our viewers a few more things to help them, because your story is actually amazing. It's inspiring. And the main point of this video is to raise awareness, to help other people, and to let them know that, you know, you're not alone, and that, you know, a lot of people suffer from this. So I'm really thankful and grateful that you're even doing this collaboration and opening up with me. So Jazz, what is a quote that you can live by, or that you can give other people to live by during this tough time if they're feeling as if, you know, they're empty?
I really like Bruce Lee when he talks about being like water. So just adapting to life situations. Even for me, a friend passed away about a few weeks ago, and there was a point where I was just so low. Not to that extent, but you know, unfortunately, things will happen. Like, my life has gone really great for the past few months, and this was something that happened. And unfortunately, you do have to keep pressing on. And with that, Brucey always talks about sort of feeling and not thinking. And even for me, like, I don't really think anymore. I really go with your gut feeling, because it's such a good indication. An example is, you know, if you're just in someone's aura and you just feel a bit weird about them and you just don't want to connect with them. So keep feeling.
So that's amazing. And I actually love that, because you're talking more about, you know, focusing on energy, and energy doesn't lie. Words can lie, actions can lie, energy doesn't lie. So once again, this all comes with, you know, getting to know yourself, meditating, journaling, focusing on self-development, and really getting to know who you are at your core. So Jazz mentioned it earlier. He spoke about, you know, a lot of us, we're looking at relationships, we're looking to get to know other people when we don't even get to know ourselves. So if you're struggling, you feel depressed, anxious, you may even feel like, you know, you're going through some sort of addiction, or even up to the extent of suicidal thoughts, really get to know yourself. What's triggering you? What's causing this? You know, what can you eliminate to get out of this? And myself and Jazz, we're both two living and breathing, thank God, examples of this. And if we weren't around right now, and we went through with, you know, how we felt at that moment in time, which is a temporary feeling, we wouldn't be here making this video for all of you guys now. So you guys have, you know, hope, and actually we're living and breathing experiences that, you know, you can get out of this and you can actually overcome what you're going through right now. So Jazz, I think that's basically going to be the end of our video. Is there anything else you want to say to the audience?
And, you know, I've got some more projects in the line. And yeah, just check out Simmy and get some crystals. They're amazing. I recommend the rose quartz, because I think with rose quartz, there's like a misconception that if you just put it in your hand, somebody's just going to like knock on your door. But self-love is so important. You really need to know what you want. And a relationship isn't everything. You did a great video on not being married at 25, and that's so important as well. Like, our community really emphasizes on being married, but you know, life isn't about marriage. It's doing what you love and your passions and raising your energy. So yeah, thank you.
Perfect. So Jazz, it was amazing having you. Like, we've been talking about doing a club for ages, and we finally done it. And yeah, with regards to self-love, guys, in my next collaboration with one of my international YouTuber friends now from Berlin, we're going to be talking more about self-love. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If it did resonate with you, don't forget to hit the like button, and hopefully you'll see more of me and Jazz in some more videos later on. Bye guys.